everyone, my name is Haley and welcome back or welcome to my channel. For this week's video, I wanted to give you guys some tips and tricks on how you can read more, or if you are in a really big reading slump. I have found that these will help me get out of mine, so I want to share with you the ways I keep reading as a hobby and don't get too burnt out on it, and if you are new to reading, things that you can do to grow your love for it and things like that. Growing up, I was a very avid reader, and then in college, especially before COVID, I didn't really read as much as I had used to, and then COVID started and quarantine and everything like that, so I started to read more when I was in quarantine. And then now that quarantine is over and I don't have as much time to read, I found other ways to still make time for it, and now that it is content I like to make on here, I make sure to push through, and these are some things that help me keep it fun and a hobby. So if you're looking to start your reading journey, or you just want to read more, then these are some tips that I think will be really helpful for you. Again, my trusty green notebook with all of my ideas. Let's just get into the list. And so the first one I have is to read shorter books. I think sometimes it can feel like a lot to get through a 300-page book, because that is the average length these days. So 300 pages, if you really don't have a lot of time or you just can't focus, is not easy to get through. So I find picking up really short books like 100 pages, 150 pages, those are really easy to get through and you can read them in one sitting. I find a lot of Japanese fiction to be really short, so I would definitely suggest looking there. You can also just look for short story collections. That way you can finish a story and feel the satisfaction of it being completed, but it's not very long. And then also like poetry collections, because again, they are not long. I know sometimes I get the urge to pick up a book, but everything that is on my TBR is long, and so I end up not reading even though I have the urge to, because I just can't commit that much time and energy to a long book. So always having a few shorter books on hand is a really good idea, and things you can just pick up and flip through and put down when you're on the go, or you know, finish really quickly and add to your reading goal. My next tip would be to read new genres. I recently started reading a lot of different genres. I am a big YA fantasy reader, and that was pretty much all I used to read. And then I think last year I started reading rom-coms and like new adult romance, and now I've read dark romance, more science fiction, more high fantasy, more literary fiction. Oh, and a lot more mystery thrillers. I never used to read mystery thrillers, but I've started to read a lot more of them. And I find myself reading more than I used to, because there's so many more genres and books available to me that I never thought of before. And when I was only focusing on like YA, sci-fi, and fantasy, I would not want to pick up a book because I was burnt out on the genre, but I never thought about branching out. And so now that I have like 6 or 7 that I can go to, I'm never bored or burnt out, because there is just so many different things that I could read about. I know it's kind of scary to branch out because you are committing time and energy to something that you might not enjoy, but you could also enjoy it, and it's really fun to find new genres that you enjoy, and it is a great way to get out of a slump because you don't feel like you are getting just hit over the head with the same tropes and everything. So reading new genres is a great way to get out of a slump and start to read more. And the third tip I have would be to participate in reading challenges to make reading more fun. So this could be challenges that you just do by yourself, or maybe ones that are going on in the book community. I know there's like monthly challenges on Goodreads and stuff like that, but I really enjoy like 24-hour readathons, and I usually do those by myself. And there's a bunch of other ones. Like I really want to have a TBR jar, so I choose, you know, a book that's on my shelf from a jar and I have to read it, because it takes the decision out of choosing your next read. And I feel like a big part of getting stuck in a reading slump is not knowing what to choose next. So a challenge where it picks for you, like in my video a few weeks ago when I did my personality quiz, chooses my next reads, it was so easy to get into the groove of reading those books because I didn't have to decide for myself. I would definitely recommend stuff like that. It could be a 24-hour readathon where you see how many books you could read in 24 hours, personality quiz or horoscope chooses my next read, or reading other booktubers' favorite books, or their most anticipated books, things like that. Something where you are reading for a purpose other than enjoyment, because I feel like it makes it more exciting and there's more at stake, because it's not just reading a book, it's reading a book for a reason. I mean, the reason that we read is because it's fun and we enjoy it, but if you find yourself in a slump, I think having an extra sort of layer to choosing a book and the reason behind it is really helpful. It has helped me get out of a slump multiple times, and I would highly recommend. The next tip I have is to do a buddy read or join a book club. I think that being able to talk about books with people that are reading the same one as you is really fun and helps you be excited for the book that you're reading because you want to talk about it. This can also coincide with like joining book social media. You can make friends on Bookstagram or Book Talk or BookTube, whatever platform you enjoy, and that can start conversation with people and you can find new books to read there. But buddy reading is really fun because not only does it have someone keep you in check and you have to finish it because you don't want to leave the other person hanging, but again, it helps you be excited because you want to talk about it, and so there can be a discourse happening. And it's always fun to read a book with someone and then you guys have like two totally different experiences because you can talk about what you liked about it, maybe what you didn't like about it. Doing a buddy read holds you accountable for actually finishing what you're reading, and what is not fun about talking about books with your friends? Okay, the next tip is to DNF if you are not feeling it. DNF stands for did not finish. I don't have a problem with DNFing books. I'm actually actively trying not to, which kind of goes against what this tip is, but like if I'm reading a book for a video, I will not DNF it, or I'll really try not to. But if I'm reading for just my own enjoyment, I will DNF something if I don't like it, because it takes the joy out of it. That can put you in a really big reading slump if you're trying to get through something that you just don't enjoy, and subjecting yourself to it, because then you're just not enjoying yourself, you're not having fun, and that defeats the purpose of having a hobby. So if you do not like a book, please do not feel like you need to finish it. You need to DNF in 2023. There's no point in going through with it. It's gonna feel slow and it's gonna feel boring, and you're gonna finish it, you're gonna despise the book, and then you're not gonna want to read. So have the foresight to just DNF something, or put it to the side and stop reading it for now. Maybe you can get into it at another time, but there are so many books that I've DNF'd within the first like 20 pages, and then even within like 150 pages I will DNF something. Life is too short. Don't finish the book if you don't like it. Next is to listen to more audiobooks. I was never an audiobook person, and that was because I can't just like sit there and do nothing and listen to an audiobook. But when I was in college, I can't listen to books while I do homework or study, and if I'm cleaning my room, that's like 30 minutes and that's not enough time to get into an audiobook. So they were never really my thing. But recently, when I started work, I'm at an office and I'm at my desk for 8 hours a day, and when it's just work that I know what I'm doing and it's like busy work type of things, I will put on an audiobook, and I can usually finish it within the workday because I listen to it on 1.75 speed, and so I fly through them because I can focus. So it's just uninterrupted time, me in this audiobook, and I find a lot of good books through that. And I'm really happy I have time to listen to them, because at my old jobs when I was doing like retail and stuff, obviously I wasn't listening to them, so it's nice to be able to have the time to explore audiobooks. I would definitely recommend Libby because audiobooks are so expensive. Like, why is it $30 for an audiobook? I mean, I'm sure there's a reason, but like I can't bring myself to pay for that. So I would highly recommend downloading Libby. If you don't know what that is, it's an app that connects to your city's library, and you just join with your library card, and then you can have access to all of the books and stuff that they have, but you can do it digitally. So they have like e-files and then audiobooks. So that's where I get all of my audiobooks from, or I'll do like a free trial for Scribd or something. I would highly recommend audiobooks if you find yourself doing long hours and listening to music, but you want to read more. I would say switch from music to audiobooks, or just cycle between the two, because it has helped me read a lot more. The next tip would be to watch watch book content to get yourself in the reading mood. So you can go ahead and send this video to your friends or look up other booktubers, other book talks, bookstagram. I find booktube to be the one that will get me in the reading mood the most because people are talking about books for a longer period of time, and there's reading vlogs. I love to watch reading vlogs to get me in the mood. It's a really good way to put yourself in the headspace because you start to see how much fun they're having and how enjoyable it can be, and maybe you want to have it on in the background when you start a book. I usually like to watch reading vlogs or book hauls, stuff like that. So the next time you find yourself browsing Netflix and there's literally nothing to watch, and this is from personal experience, go on YouTube, go on TikTok, whatever it is, look up book content and you will find yourself getting into the reading mood. The next tip is something that I didn't start doing until I think like last year or maybe a year and a half ago, and that is annotating. I used to be like a freak about not writing in my books, and now I really don't care. I don't write in it if it's like a special edition, but if I have a special edition, I have a regular edition that I write in. So anyway, I would very highly recommend annotating your books because it keeps you immersed in the story. I find that when I am actively finding things that I want to annotate, it keeps me engaged in the story because you are focusing more. I use these and a highlighter, or like a few highlighters. I can do a whole video on how I annotate if you would like to see that. But you can start out with just like a pen, underline things that you like, make notes about what the book makes you feel, if you enjoyed one part, if you didn't like one part, what was funny to you. Like, there's so many ways that you can annotate a book and keep it enjoyable to read. I know sometimes annotating can feel like schoolwork, so if you find that it is taking you out of the story, I would pause on annotating that certain book. But if you're having trouble focusing, I would say try and see if you like it. I really enjoy school, and now that I'm not in it, I'm like, wow, I wish I could go back. So annotating books is kind of like my own personal homework, and maybe that's just a me thing because I haven't heard anyone say that they miss school, but it like makes you feel accomplished. I don't know, and I like to feel accomplished, and so I like to finish the things that make me feel that way, and that is annotating a book and finishing it. It also really helps if you want to remember certain parts of a book, or if you're gonna do a review or anything, you can flip back through and see what you had to say about it and what you thought about it, and that is also just another fun layer to it. So I would start annotating. This next one kind of goes hand in hand with like book content and buddy reading, but it is to make bookish friends. I found a lot of bookish friends on Bookstagram and Book Talk. It's a lot easier than BookTube, I think. You don't even have to make content. You can find bigger creators and see like people in the comments if you guys have anything in common. It really helps to have a friend to talk about books with. It just like keeps you motivated, and even if you're reading different things, you can see how much fun they're having, and I'm sure it'll help them as well to have someone, because I'm sure many of us have experienced not really having real life friends that like to read, so making online friends is the next best thing. And I don't know, I always enjoy stuff more when someone else is doing it with me. Book shopping I think is more fun when someone is with you. For me, I love to go to the K-pop album store, but it's a lot more fun when someone is with me. And I am an introverted person. This is not coming from an extrovert. It's just really fun to have friends that enjoy the same hobbies as you. So I think you should, after this video, don't leave now, after this video, go and try and make some bookish friends. Okay, this next one, we are all victims of this, and I blame social media. I mean, I don't really go on social media that often, except for Twitter and TikTok and YouTube. Okay, so I guess I do, but like, I'm not really on Instagram, but I will find myself doom scrolling on TikTok, and 3 hours will have passed and I'm like, what did I just do with my life? So my tip is to put your phone down, but if you find that to be a little bit hard, switch your social media apps for the Kindle app or like the Books app on the iPhone, because like when you're on the train, or if you are waiting for an appointment, or if you have nothing to do that day, instead of opening TikTok and Instagram, you can open your Kindle app or the Books app and just start reading. And it is so much better than social media scrolling. Like, your screen time will still pretty much be the same, but at least you will be reading. And it makes reading so much more accessible. It makes books right at your fingertips, so even if you don't have a physical copy, you can still read a book. I used to, well, I still switch off, but I used to only watch like YouTube videos to fall asleep, but now I will read on my Kindle instead because I don't like to lay down in bed and read a physical book because it's just uncomfortable. Either having my phone or my Kindle where I can still read but like get comfortable and lay on my side and whatever it is and not have the lights on, it really helps me read more, and it also puts me to sleep. And that's not because the book is boring, but it's just because I'm tired. But yeah, I have definitely seen that my social media time has gone down when I actively try to, or I remember that I have the Kindle app and a bunch of books that I could be reading instead of scrolling. So if you don't have the Kindle app or the books app, please download it, thank me later, and you will be reading way more than you ever have. And the next tip I have is to set goals for yourself. So I have a goal of 50 books this year, and I'm already more than halfway done, which is crazy because last year I almost didn't meet it. This year we're doing great, we're on track. This kind of goes back to me saying I miss school and I like having accomplished things. So I find that if I set a goal for myself, I will be way more inclined to reach it than if I like weren't to set a goal. Obviously that's what goals are for, but I'll be more inclined to read a book if I put the pressure on myself. It makes it more fun to see like if like what my limits are and stuff like that. Obviously if I really am not in the mood, then I won't force myself, but it helps me like choose between, oh, do I want to watch something on Netflix or do I want to read? Like if I have a goal, I will pretty much choose reading because I want to complete it. So having your reading goal on Goodreads is a good place to start because you can track every book that you've read for the year. If you want to read a whole shelf of your bookshelf, that would be a great place to start. If you want to finish 3 books in a week, like you can set whatever goal that you want, and if you're like me, it will really help because you'll just feel a lot better, I guess. This is a whole other topic, but I think for people that graduated college during COVID like me and quarantine and stuff still happening even after graduation, it's really easy to feel unaccomplished because we were in this really weird space where people didn't know how to do work from home, and it was really hard to find a job. Like it was still really difficult to find a job even after quarantine and stuff was over and COVID wasn't as severe. So because I didn't get to finish like the last 2 years of school in person and accomplish a lot of the things that I could have done, like internships and stuff like that when I was in school, and missed out on that sort of enrichment, I now put it upon myself to have accomplishments and goals. And everyone has like life goals, but this is specifically for reading. So it just makes me feel a lot better and like I'm actually doing something with my life if I can set these goals and reach them. So I would highly recommend, if you're anything like me and have felt this way before, setting a reading goal is really helpful, and again, like just spices up your reading time. And the last tip I have for you is to read in new environments. So I read a lot in my room, which is where we are right now. I will sit in my bed and I'll read, or during winter time I'll go downstairs and read in front of the fireplace. But those are kind of simple, basic places, and it can kind of make you a little bit stir crazy if you keep reading in the same places because it gets boring after a while, I think. So when it starts to get warmer outside, I'm gonna go into the backyard and I'm gonna read, or maybe I'll take myself to the beach. If you don't like to go places alone, what I will do is drive to like a lookout spot, but I'll stay in my car because I don't want to go out by myself. So if you can drive and you want to get out of the house, I would say look up like a lookout point, or drive to the beach, or just drive to a place that you really enjoy going and brings you some calm and peace of mind, and just bring your book with you and sit in the car and read. I find that that helps so much because reading can be a very solitary hobby and can keep you confined into one place, but it's important to go outside and it's important to go out and explore and find new places and stuff like that. So I find that going out and driving or walking to different areas of the place that I live is very helpful. I'll start going to the park once it's nice out. Maybe I'll drive to like other areas areas that I'm not too familiar with. Also just going to a bookstore and reading, going to a coffee shop and reading. There are so many places that you can go that are not your house, and that really helps you get out of a slump and out of a funk. Because if I'm in a slump but I keep myself in my room, I'll just go on my computer or I'll go on my phone. And so if you kind of just isolate yourself with a book somewhere else, you kind of don't have a choice but to read. And that sounds kind of psycho, but this is obviously like, none of these tips are to force yourself to read. These are just things that can help you read more. So I would say just take your bag, take a book, and go drive somewhere. Like, it really helps. Those were all the tips I have for you. I utilize these in my daily life. I'm not recommending things that I've never tried before. So if you do any of these things, let me know in the comments down below. If you're gonna try them, let me know. And if you have tried them, come back here and let me know if they worked out for you. And if you have any other tips, drop them in the comments. I would be so curious to know what you guys do to read more or get out of a reading slump. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!